Hello and welcome back to the Business Octopus. How you going, Amanda?
Fabulous. And yourself, Avon?
Not too bad now. It's been about 2 days and I'm back in Australia and I'm a lot less jet lagged than I was previously. So it hasn't taken long this time. I think it's worse going the other way. Yeah.
True. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. So tell us, where have you been? Tell us your stories.
Right. So about 4 weeks ago, I left for the US. I had to go via Sydney, then landed in Houston, then from Houston to Austin, and then I did a week in Austin, then I did a week in Dallas. While I took a 4-hour meeting in Pittsburgh, so that was one day. Then from that, I went to Vegas for the weekend with my business partner. Also ran a community meetup face to face in Dallas. Excuse me, and then went to. From there, went to Arizona, and then I met up with one of our community members, also a new sales hire that we had, and then over to Orlando, and then spent a couple of days there and caught up with another community member, as well as a podcast with a 8 or 9 figure entrepreneur. So yeah,
amazing,
busy.
So you've been busy.
A little bit, yes, yeah.
Amazing.
So, unfortunately, that has meant that it's been very difficult to run these. So thank you very much for doing your solo one last week. I really appreciate it.
Of course. I know it's terrible you had to put up just with the Amanda show last week, but we are back. Avon's back in the country, and today we're talking all about his trip, the Entrepreneur's Expedition to the US. So, question for you. What was your biggest takeaway? Kick us off with that.
Obviously, America is big. They have 14 times more population than we have in Australia. In fact, Texas alone has about equivalent population to Australia.
Isn't that wild?
Different states have different rules, and it makes it very complex. And like the taxation system, to the point where, depending on where you go, you have to let them know how many days you've been in each state, because that can have an impact on the taxes and earnings and salaries and all that sort of stuff.
Interesting. I'll never complain about GST again.
No, we have a very, very simple system. And, it's really frustrating. Like, the price is never the price. You go to the restaurant and they're like, oh, it's $10 or $5 for a coffee. And then, by the time you add on the local sales tax, then you add on the tip. And then don't forget, like, as if you're going from Australia, you've got the conversion rate on top of that. So it can be a very expensive trip. But I went to the US 10 years ago, and food and clothing was quite cheap. Fuel was cheap.
Yes,
there were some expensive things, but for the most part, the basics were really, really affordable. This time around, I think it's dollar for dollar. You want a coffee, it's $5. Like, once upon a time, it might have been like $1 or $2 for coffee, and it works out cheaper once you convert it. But now it's like same dollars, but in Australian money, it's 1.5 times more.
Right. So my strategy of taking an empty suitcase so I can go wild on my shopping expeditions in the US is dead. Is that what you're saying?
Well, let's think a little bit. Zoom out a little bit and think about comparatively in Australia now too. Like, in that time, Australian goods have become cheaper. So, you used to have, everything was, $20 or $30 for a t-shirt or more. And now you've got Kmart, Target, like in the last probably 5 years, have now got, the fast fashion where it's a $5 shirt or a $6 shirt or something like that. So they've been able to have some level of scale because, the shipping has gone up, that competitiveness has increased. Whereas, and we're about the volume now, whereas before, the department stores used to charge large margins, and, they all did that. So that's why now Maya isn't keeping up, why Target is, kind of struggling, or David Jones, all of these department stores, because they can't charge those huge margins anymore, because people can just get it for $5. So
gotcha. So So yes, and if I want to go and buy my Calvin Klein t-shirt, for example, or my Tommy,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
paying more than I used to in the US. Is that what you're telling me?
Well, it depends. If you're going to get it new, yes. Like,
Okay.
you could spend $1,000 on a t-shirt at Louis Vuitton. But you can also go into some of these department outlets. There's a shop called
Of
Ross,
course.
and it's got
Okay.
it kind of feels like an op shop. You go in there, but then you've
Yeah.
got, last time I bought a Calvin Klein jacket, like a suit jacket, and
Nice.
great, super comfortable. I think I paid about $50 for it. You buy that thing new,
Well
you
done.
probably paid $500 for it. Yeah, or more.
There you go. Hot
So,
tips from Avon. Get your fashion while you're on your entrepreneur's expedition.
well, the other thing is it could be like out of season or out of date, but like
100%.
that's in the US season. Australia's a little bit behind all that anyway. So by the time we get it,
Exactly.
you're just
We're
all
still
sorted.
cool. We're still
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. Particularly if we're wearing something like a Around the Twist t-shirt.
Oh, absolutely. Check that out.
Old school.
Except our American friends would have no idea what that was, and that's okay.
No. But I did see quite a few bluey things out there. So like you've got there was little kids had this bluey suitcase, and another one had like a little like bingo toy. And part of me wanted to go up and say, hey, that's where I'm from. But
Yeah.
that's weird going up to other people's kids. So I didn't do that.
A little bit. And that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. But yeah, we're Brisbane proud. Good stuff.
Yes,
Go team.
But the other thing is, because there's so many people there and there's so much internal opportunity, why would they come here? Why would they talk to an Australian? It's almost as though there's no point unless you've got something very wildly successful. In fact, I did meet one person, an Australian, who is killing it over there because she's got 4-wheel drive caravans that she's exporting from Australia to the US.
Love that. Smart.
So,
okay. So they're not making an equivalent over there, or we just make them better? Like, what's the deal?
We make them different. We make them for our Australian climate. So this is the thing where if you can find a niche, like you cannot serve the mass market over there unless you're already in the mass market. If you could find a niche and then really hammer down on that, then you'll be fine. So like if you go to America, most cars are quite big, they're quite like sort of over the top. So like they've got the RVs and the Winnebagos, which are meant for the road. It's kind of like a truck, but it's just like this 5-star hotel on wheels. So that's a market, and it's a big market. Great, no worries. But there is a finer market of people who want to go off-road, who want to, be going down a valley like this and then up a ravine like that and then have the caravan on the back. You can't do that with a Winnebago. You can't do it with the big like truck kind of bus conversion. So, and the way that it's towed as well. So you've got this like ball and socket joint for most sort of trailers.
Right.
So you need the tow ball, and then there's a thing it clips on the top, and then it gets dragged along. But for 4-wheel drives, you need a 2 circle links. So one is a circle like that, the other one comes in and clips in like that, and then it can go up on this sort of angle and down on that sort of angle and left and right.
And still good. Yeah.
So there is a market for people that want that sort of thing, but for the most part, no. And no, they don't produce them in the US. We do it here.
Amazing.
Because we have a lot of, 4-wheel drive enthusiasts that do that on the weekends, that go into crazy places. And the wheels are bigger.
Well done.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's impressive. Wow.
So she's calling it over there.
Amazing. And what do they pay for them over there? Like, I'm just thinking, by the time she's exported it across and like conversion, like it would be.
Well, the thing is, it's not necessarily about like cost comparison. I mean, eventually maybe she could take up manufacture over there, but in the first instance, we have a cost arbitrage because our dollar is less. They have the ability to do scale. So maybe version 1 is she builds the thing in Australia, sells a couple hundred, then gets up enough money and maybe gets deployment capital, because people over there will invest. They'll find the thing that looks cool and they'll they'll sort of celebrate it, and everybody loves entrepreneurs. Whereas here, all we are is risk averse. So we're scared to do things. Over there, they're like, let's have a go. Let's see what happens, because the upside could be significant.
Yeah.
Particularly
Interesting observation. Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
Well, we tend to grow slower. So like if you want to grow fast, you need to go over there. And once you get a market and you've got product market fit, and then you've got enough capital to do the right marketing, to have the right conversations, to get the right close, then you can do that times 1,000 or 1,000,000. And in fact, people don't have a problem with what's your product. They have more of a problem with, will it scale? So if they have a conversation with you about investment, the first thing I want to know is, if I put $5 million behind this, is it going to get to the level that I want it to get to? Whereas and like the check sizes here, like they might be talking about 5 million as like a start. Over here, you're probably talking about 50,000 as a start. Like you go and watch Shark Tank in America versus Shark Tank in Australia, the numbers is the big kicker.
Absolutely. Yeah, there you go. Interesting. Now, Avon, what else did you learn on your adventures? What can you share with us?
So I think obviously you need to go hard, you need to have an impact, and you need to get on the ground and do it properly, because you can't half-ass it. There's so many other options other than you. So if you go over there and you say, hey, I'm going to do this thing, if you're on the ground and you're like present and you can act fast and deliver, more than likely you'll make a sale. But because they've got so many opportunities available to them in the country, they'll just as easily move on to the next thing, because they're about speed and force and movement, and not about like, oh, we'll just wait until little Johnny's ready. So that was one concept.
So how do you stand out? How do you be the partner of choice, if you like?
Well, if you can get that momentum, get on the ground and move quickly, then you've got a much better chance of capturing market and then retaining it. And then once you do a good job, they'll talk. They're very collaborative in that sense.
Very good. So speed and actually being able to deliver.
Yes, and if you could like maybe save up the pennies to hire someone over there, or to build some form of on-ground presence, then you're going to have a much better chance, because they're like talking to their own. They're not going to wait until like 6 p.m. at night to talk to someone over here. I mean, they might do in some cases, but you're pretty much going to have to work. Like I said, it's because they've got so many opportunities available to them. Why are they going to wait for you? They're probably not. So you need to be there and active and present. Another big thing that we learned about was the Texas Stock Exchange. So and there is a thought about building a you got the New York Stock Exchange, you got the NASDAQ. Now they're building the Texas Stock Exchange as an alternative, because their argument was that it cost $1 billion to list on the New York Stock Exchange, so it's made it really unreachable for a lot of mid-cap companies. So now what they're doing is looking at making it listable on the Texas Stock Exchange. So you've got, it could be much cheaper. Like you could be a company, and like I'll go back to the scale conversation, is that everything over there is about size and scale. So a $900 million company is considered a mid-market company, and that would be only just allowed to list on the Texas Stock Exchange. But again, that's much better than a $10 billion company before they can list on New York Stock Exchange.
There you go. Interesting. And how did all that come about? Who's driving it?
So, well, here's another concept. Texas kind of consider themselves almost as a separate country. They are the 8th largest economy in the world.
Interesting. So wow.
They've got in the airports on the screens, there's a thing called the Texit coin. So Texas exit, like Brexit, right?
Right. Yeah. Wow. So it's a digital currency, right?
Correct. Yeah. So that's an aside, I think, from the bigger movements. But by having their own stock exchange, theoretically, they're now on the global stage as someone that could potentially separate from the union at some point in the future. So
interesting.
they are very independent. They do consider themselves very much their own beast. So it's just interesting to see where that might go over the next few years. But definitely, there's a lot of action in those areas.
Very cool. Very cool.
So the thing that helped me discover that was another Australian who is living in Dallas and is running a software company. So he helped me to find some networks, work along.
Awesome.
He's like my little tour guide for a little while I was there.
How good.
And super helpful. So, I think if you are going to go global, go and find those other, similar people and build and maintain your network with other people that get it or who are already there, already doing it, already making it happen. So
amazing.
That's one way to really sort of scale that up. Another one would be one thing I was there was Australian Texas Chamber of Commerce. So it's about people who are Australians trying to expand over there internationally. And so many of them already are, and they'll just go for a catch up with other Aussies. There's often new faces like me while I was there. And, they talked about registering companies and, getting visas and things like that. So you've got, just at a high level, you've got an E1, an E2, and an E3 visa. So one of them is you're an entrepreneur, you're running things yourself. Another one is you're an employee, and so you're technically an employee of your own company. And then another one, like a shorter term, sort of have a go kind of subsidiary visa. That's where you're like testing the waters, so to speak.
Cool. Yeah, nice. Very cool. Very cool.
And then, there was a lawyer that got up and spoke and said that talked about, registering different states. They've got a software because the laws change. And if you've got, sometimes they want to know how much money you've got in an Australian bank account as well. So it's not just about and you need to have, be very clear on that. Otherwise the IRS are very aggressive. And so they will clamp down. And because the rules change and they're complex on different states, and these specialists have access to a platform that will help mitigate and manage all of the rules and make sure that you're complying with them. So that's a very important thing. Don't try to do it yourself.
Interesting. So and how, so apart from going to sort of chamber meetings, how else do you find the right partners on the ground?
There was when I was in Austin, I went to a startup hub, and
cool.
There was
like a co-working kind of vibe, or yes, cool.
Exactly. So then I did the tour. I met 2 or 3 people. Then I found out there was another event that evening, and there's so many events on everywhere. So you can just look for all of the events and just hit the ground running. I was an event almost every night. So this one, was called Tech and Tequila, and then there was a guy who was talking about where AI is headed, and then I ended up doing a podcast with him, and then I ended up going out on the town with a couple of people who were at that event, and then that led on to some other conversations and some other introductions. It just flows.
So just pull the threads, right? Just yeah, love it.
That's it. Got to be there. Got to be on the ground.
100%.
And then afterwards, you have to exploit those connections. And I guess that's a military term of make the most of what information you have. So in civilian terms, nurturing.
Nurture those leads, people.
So like it was a little bit hard to get onto some of these people. But the other thing too is maybe I had such a good time because I spent so much time building the well before I need the water. So I built those relationships online before I got there. And then I had a series of meetings that then flowed into other meetings. But if I just turned up and kind of hoped to meet someone, I wouldn't know where to start, wouldn't know who to talk 100%. To. I wouldn't know about the events that are on. So building those connections before you get there is important. And a lot of times they're busy, right? Because there's so many people to meet. Quite often you need about a month or two sometimes to get on their calendar. And we have one of the people who I met
Michelle.
online
Thank you, Michelle.
while I was
And
there.
Michelle is also a legend, by the way.
Yes, absolutely. No, it was really great speaking.
Yeah, she's one of our associates in the US. So, hey, Michelle. I'm catching up with her next week.
Yes, yeah.
Nice.
Well, I think I need to do a couple of introductions for her. So I've only been on ground for about 12 working hours. So I need to get onto my backlog of tasks of following up and emailing and doing the exploitation that, or nurturing, let's say.
So on that note, Avon, so you've said, okay, so build the well before you need the water, boots on ground. So what will you do now? How will you exploit/nurture all of those connections? Make sure you've done all your follow-up. What does that look like now?
Well, we want to meet them again. Doing it once is not enough, and no one's going to go after meeting you briefly. Is going to go, oh my God, yes, let's do this. Spend the time and don't go straight into the sales pitch, particularly not when you're first trying to get people on the ground over there. What you need to do is build a team of advocates, people that know you, that understand the value you bring. Really kind of like build a deeper relationship. Try to build some reciprocity and give them some introductions as well. And then eventually they'll go, oh, this person's a good person. And then they will keep feeding you introductions because there's just so many people to meet over there. Everyone has got a lot of opportunities available to them. What they really care about is whether or not they trust you. Yes. And get to that rapid values alignment as fast as possible. So there's a process I go through to try and accelerate that. But that's something that if we can do effectively, will get us to the position where we have endless referrals.
Perfect. So definitely worth the trip then, Avon, is what you're saying.
Oh yeah. And then some. So we've got well, I don't know if we'll double in the next year, but I certainly feel like we're headed that way. So there's some significant upside opportunities. We just need to make sure that follows through and happens.
Absolutely. So, and what would you say to people thinking of doing this themselves?
Well, first of all, join the Relevate community. In our global tier, we've got a lot of like info and guides and those introductions, so it can help you to build those connections early on, and then from that, all the other pitfalls and traps and you need to be aware of, like when traveling. So, for example, one thing that happened, someone got my credit card and they did some transactions. But because of the way we're set up and the way that we were able to manage things, we didn't really have a problem. All the money came back. I was able to carry on in the country without a problem. So just things are different, and you need to be aware of what is different and navigate them effectively. That was only one example. Others are like, just how to deal with tipping or how to deal with, like everyone's willing to have a conversation, but they're very quick to make a decision. So you need to impress. You need to, approach it a different way. They're more concerned about scale. They're more concerned about reliability. So once they can get that over the line, like over here, we're so slow, passive, conservative, risk averse. But if you can get in, go hard, hit the right notes, use the right terminology, talk about being collaborative, then you will have a much better footing to grow.
Outstanding. Avon, what a starter kit. Thank you.
Well, I think that's pretty good for today. I'm going to wear my voice thin, I'm sure. But nonetheless, if you're watching and you want to find out more, check out the Relevate community in the link just down here. And we've got heaps of guides and resources, as well as some of those early networks already established, so that can help you to expand and grow faster. So did you have any other comments or questions before we run along?
No, I think that was